Welcome to the Book Nook, everybody. We are so thrilled to have you here today.
Yes, welcome in.
So, if you're new here, we are entirely dedicated to exploring the most impactful, transformative books in self-help, spirituality, psychology, and personal growth.
All the stuff that really gets under the hood of human behavior.
Exactly. And today, we have a deep dive that I think is going to hit home for a lot of you listening.
Oh, definitely. This one is a classic for a reason.
Right. We are looking at Gary Chapman's incredibly influential 2014 book, The Five Love Languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts.
Which is, it's just a juggernaut in the relationship space.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is, well, it's to unpack that fundamental mystery of what actually happens to love after the wedding day.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Truly. Like, how do we keep our emotional love tanks full when the daily grind sets in? And what are these specific dialects of love we all apparently speak?
Yeah, and to really get why Chapman's material is so groundbreaking, you have to look at his background.
Which surprised me, honestly.
Right. Most people assume he's just a marriage counselor, which he is, but his academic background is actually in anthropology.
Anthropologists, they study human beings as meaning-making creatures, right?
Exactly. They look at how different cultures construct symbols and rituals and languages just to survive together. And Chapman basically took that anthropological framework and applied it to the modern marriage. Sitting in his counseling office for years, he just started noticing this crazy repeating pattern.
Yeah, he realized couples weren't suffering from a lack of love. They were suffering from a translation error.
A massive one.
I always think about it like, imagine trying to buy groceries in a foreign country where you literally don't speak a single word of the language.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
Right. You desperately need tomatoes. So you walk into the clerk, you smile, and you ask for tomatoes in perfect, polite English.
And they just stare blankly at you.
Total blank stare. So what do? You employ that universal, completely flawed strategy of the frustrated traveler.
You just get louder.
Exactly. You just yell, tomatoes.
As if volume is going to magically translate it.
Right. But it doesn't matter how loud you are or how pure your intentions are. The transaction just fails.
And that's the tragedy of these relationships Chapman was seeing. Both partners are effectively yelling tomatoes at each other for decades.
Wow. Decades.
Yeah, one partner is speaking Chinese, the other is speaking English, and both are walking away feeling like the other person is deliberately withholding the groceries.
The sincerity isn't the issue at all.
No, the bridge just isn't there.
But, before we even identify these five languages, the book points out we have to confront the baseline problem.
The illusion.
Yes, the cultural mythology around falling in and then inevitably falling out of love.
And Chapman introduces this perfectly with this story about an executive he met on an airplane.
Oh, the guy on the flight from Buffalo to Dallas.
That's the one.
So Chapman is sitting at 30,000 feet, just wanting to sleep, probably.
Probably, yeah.
And the businessman next to him strikes up this super intense conversation. The guy finds out Chapman is a counselor and asks, what happens to love after you get married?
Which is such a loaded question from a stranger on a plane.
Seriously. But the guy had been married 3 times, divorced 3 times.
And if you look at the fracture points of those 3 marriages, it's a perfect map of how that romantic illusion breaks down.
Let's actually look at those because they feel so common. His first marriage ended when they had a baby.
Right. The wife poured all her energy into the infant.
And he felt totally abandoned. He felt like he was just a financial means to an end.
Then the second marriage was a total whirlwind.
Oh, the 6-month dating phase?
Yeah, they rushed into it, riding that neurochemical high, and then the relationship literally crashed on the honeymoon.
Just immediately.
The second the environment shifted from dating to marriage, the illusion evaporated.
And the third one is almost the most terrifying to me. He deliberately chose a woman who was the most positive, upbeat person he knew.
Thinking he could outsmart the system.
Exactly. But a few months after the wedding, she completely changed. She became hypercritical, complaining about the garbage, attacking his character.
In all 3 cases, the euphoria vanished and left this profound resentment.
So why does this happen so reliably?
Chapman points to the research of Dr. Dorothy Tenoff here. She conducted clinical studies specifically on the phenomenon of falling in love.
And her findings are a bit of a reality check, right?
A massive reality check.
Yeah.
She found that the euphoric, obsessive state of being in love naturally lasts, on average, about 2 years.
2 years. That is it.
That's the expiration date on the biological high.
So if you're listening to this and you've hit that 2-year mark and suddenly felt that drop in affection, You aren't broken.
Not at all. Your biology is just returning to baseline.
Chapman calls it the in-love illusion. It's this egocentric phase where our brains are pumped full of dopamine.
And norepinephrine.
Right, and dropping serotonin, which causes the obsessive thinking. We feel like we jump in front of a train for this person.
But that altruism is entirely disconnected from reality. It's an instinctual trick to get humans to mate and survive.
It suppresses the critical thinking centers of the brain.
Literally blind to their flaws.
But then, the high wears off. The dopamine normalizes. And suddenly, the way they chew their food is the most annoying sound in the universe.
You're left staring at a separate, flawed individual.
Which brings us to Dr. Ross Campbell's concept of the emotional tank. Because once that biological safety net is gone, you have to survive the descent.
Yeah, Campbell proposed that inside every child, and adults too, there is an invisible emotional tank.
If it's full of unconditional love, you have emotional resilience.
But if it's empty, the psychological engine just tears itself apart.
The book shares this heartbreaking story about a 13-year-old girl named Ashley to illustrate this.
Oh, Ashley's story is so tough.
Her parents brought her to the clinic because she was being treated for an STD. And the parents were livid, blaming the school, the culture.
But when Chapman talked to Ashley privately, the truth came out. Her parents had divorced, her mom remarried, and Ashley just felt invisible.
She said everyone in the house had someone to love them except her.
She wasn't seeking out physical intimacy because she wanted it. She was using the only currency she had to get validation.
Just desperate for someone to look at her and say she mattered. Her parents provided food and shelter, but they left her emotional tank completely empty.
And that dynamic absolutely follows us into our adult marriages.
Yeah.
If your partner isn't actively filling your tank, you'll act out.
But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
The book says the in-love phase is an illusion, a trick. But if it's a trick, why is it so powerful? Is it just nature's cynical way to get us to sign a contract?
That is a really great question. Chapman doesn't entirely dismiss the beauty of the in-love phase.
Okay.
The problem is our cultural expectation. We think the obsession is the entirety of love and that it should last forever. I like to think of it like a rocket. The obsession is the explosive launch sequence. It provides the thrust to get two selfish people off the ground.
But once you reach orbit, the thrusters detach.
Exactly. The launch sequence is not the orbit. Once you're in orbit, real intentional love has to take over.
I love that analogy. The launch sequence versus the orbit. So real love is active. You have to choose to do it.
It requires immense effort and discipline.
So how do we start filling our partner's tank in orbit? Let's dive into the 5 specific translation mechanisms. Language number 1, words of affirmation.
For some people, spoken praise is the literal foundation of their psychological security.
Yeah, Chapman quotes Mark Twain, "I can live for 2 months on a good compliment."
Which means you'd only need 6 good compliments a year to survive.
If only it were that easy. But there's this relatable story in the book about Dan and his wife.
The bedroom painting store.
Yes, she nagged him for 9 months to paint the bedroom. And one Saturday, he spent the whole day cleaning computer files instead.
So she yelled at him.
Naturally. And the bedroom stayed unpainted. So Chapman asks her, does your husband do anything good? Take out the trash, pay bills.
And she admits he does.
So Chapman tells her, and this sounds crazy to a frustrated partner, he says, stop mentioning the paint. Never bring it up again.
Just completely drop it.
Right. Instead, every time Dan takes out the garbage or does something mundane, give him a sincere, specific compliment.
And within 3 weeks, the bedroom is painted.
It's wild. But we should clarify, this isn't manipulation.
No, absolutely not. It's behavioral psychology. Nagging triggers the brain's threat response. It creates guilt and avoidance.
It's like trying to start a car by kicking the tires.
Yeah.
You feel better, but the car isn't moving.
Exactly. But affirmation triggers the reward pathways. It makes people actually want to reciprocate. You're putting gas in the tank.
But words of affirmation isn't just generic praise. There are dialects, like encouraging words.
Yes. Encourage literally means to inspire courage.
The story of Alice and the writer really highlights this. She had a latent talent, but she got a harsh rejection slip years ago and just gave up.
She was terrified.
But her husband Keith found something new she was working on, read it, and just told her, you have a gift. You have to submit this.
That targeted push bypassed her insecurity. She eventually got a book contract.
But the book draws a strict line here between encouraging and pressuring.
Huge difference. Pressuring someone to do what you want, like pushing them to get a higher paying job so you can buy a bigger house, that's judgmental.
It induces guilt, True encouragement requires empathy. It's supporting a passion they already have.
Then there's the dialect of kind words where tone is everything.
Oh, the tone. Saying I love you is great, but saying I love you with a questioning inflection changes everything.
It becomes sarcastic or demanding.
You can express disappointment, but if you do it gently, you're communicating vulnerability. If you yell it, it's an attack.
And that leads right into requests versus demands. You can't demand love.
A demand suffocates love, but a request honors their autonomy. It creates the possibility for love because they can choose to say no.
Exactly. When they choose to fulfill a request, they are choosing to love you.
But what if words feel cheap? What if you're saying all the right things and your partner is still miserable? That brings us to language number 2, quality time.
The story of Mark and Andrea perfectly captures this.
Mark was climbing the corporate ladder, working grueling hours, thinking he was showing love by providing security.
Then he was using words of affirmation, telling Andrea she's beautiful, that he loves her.
But Andre was suffocating. She felt abandoned and constantly criticized his career.
Mark was just baffled. He's like, I'm doing all this for us.
Right. But Chapman explained that Mark's career drive was actively starving Andrea of quality time.
Words meant nothing to her without physical and mental presence.
So Mark gets this yellow legal pad and literally writes a concrete list of things Andrea wants to do with him.
Weekend in the mountains, lunches at Panera.
Or just talking without the TV on. And he treated that list like a corporate goal. He executed one item a week, and it saved their marriage.
But we need to define quality time. It's not just sitting on the same couch scrolling on your phones.
So guilty. Parallel play doesn't count.
It has to be focused, undivided attention. And a big dialect of this is quality conversation.
Which brings up Patrick. Patrick was a problem solver. His wife would vent about her day, and Patrick would immediately analyze it and deliver a solution.
But she didn't want a consultant. She wanted a partner. She wanted sympathetic listening.
And Chapman has this startling metric about listening, the 17-second interruption rule.
Oh, this blew my mind.
The average person listens for exactly 17 seconds before the urge to interrupt or defend themselves becomes overwhelming.
17 seconds, that is nothing.
You have to actively fight your own reflex to jump in. Maintain eye contact. Don't formulate your rebuttal, just listen.
It is exhausting work. But you also have to be willing to share your own feelings, which brings up the Dead Sea and the babbling brook.
I love these personality types. The Dead Sea is the internal processor. They take information in, store it in this massive silent reservoir, and never output.
They could drive from New York to Boston and not say a word.
Totally. And the babbling brook is the external processor. Whatever enters their brain must immediately exit through their mouth.
They process reality by talking.
And what's crazy is these two types are magnetically attracted to each other when dating.
It feels perfect. The brook talks, the sea listens.
But 5 years into marriage, the brook wakes up and thinks, I know nothing about my spouse. And the sea is completely exhausted from the fire hose of words.
They have to adapt. The sea has to learn to share, and the brook has to learn to shut up and ask questions.
Quality time also includes quality activities, like Emily and Jeff. Emily loves used bookstores. Jeff hates reading.
But he goes with her anyway.
Because it's not about the books. It's about him saying, I care about you enough to inhabit your world.
It deposits massive emotional equity into their memory bank.
Okay, but I have to push back here. How do you balance providing for a family-demanding careers, commutes, with the immense time demands of quality time?
It's one of the hardest tensions. But Chapman tells Mark, the executive, to use his strategic planning skills for his marriage.
So, not quitting his job.
No, it's about ruthless intentionality. Block out Saturday morning as sacred, untouchable time. No phones.
If the spouse feels secure in the time they do get, they're more likely to support the career demands later.
Quality of focus mitigates the quantity of absence.
Makes perfect sense. But what if your partner doesn't need deep conversations? What if they just need a physical symbol that you were thinking of them? Language number 3, receiving gifts.
Anthropologically, gifts are universal visual symbols of social connection.
Like Eric and Kelsey at the minor league baseball game. Eric catches a foul ball barehanded and immediately gives it to Kelsey.
That mass-produced baseball instantly transforms into a tangible reminder of his affection.
I always think of it like a souvenir. You bring back a cheap plastic keychain from a business trip, the object is practically worthless.
But psychologically, it's massive.
Right. It says, even when I was miles away, you were on my mind. The thought is the gift. The object is just the envelope.
And Chapman expands this to the gift of self, or physical presence. This is crucial during crises.
This part of the book is brutal, the story of Sonia. She's in the hospital to deliver their baby, a huge, terrifying medical event.
And her husband goes to play in his recreational softball game.
Unbelievable. He probably thought, she has doctors, I can't do anything, I'll be back.
But to someone whose language is presence, that is the ultimate betrayal. It screams, my leisure is more valuable than your suffering.
It caused a psychological wound that lasted for years. But when a partner cracks this code, the results are miraculous. Look at Doug and Kate.
Doug paid the bills, fixed the house, but stopped giving gifts. He thought they were a waste of money.
Kate felt totally unloved. So Chapman challenges Doug. Give Kate one physical gift a week. A flower, a candy bar, a small book.
And she called him a new man. Their kids called them lovebirds.
Doug's language was acts of service, so he didn't get it at first. But once he spoke her language, everything shifted.
Which brings up an interesting intersection. What if you give a gift, like a bouquet of roses, and your partner sighs and thinks, great, now I have to clean up dead petals in 4 days?
Oh, man. If they see a gift as a chore, you have crossed into language number 4, acts of service.
Yes. This language is all about alleviating cognitive and physical burden.
And the best case study for this is Dave and Mary from China Grove. This completely blew my mind.
Oh, the church steps story?
Yeah, they've been married 2 years, completely miserable, fighting constantly. Chapman sits them on the church steps and has them write down 3 things they'd like the other to do around the house.
And the crazy part? They both shared the exact same primary love language, acts of service.
Wait, if they had the same language, why were they fighting?
Because of dialects. They were speaking the same language but doing the wrong chores.
Mary was exhausted doing things Dave didn't care about, and vice versa. They were burning energy on the wrong things.
Once they swapped lists and did the right chores, the friction evaporated.
And this language requires us to overcome traditional gender stereotypes, like Brad doing laundry and errands so his wife Michelle could finish her grad school thesis.
He completely jettisoned gender roles to serve her in a crisis.
He alleviated her mental load, the cognitive process of noticing the laundry needs washing, buying detergent, scheduling it. Taking that over is a profound act of love.
But there is a massive warning label here.
Right. How do you prevent this from turning you into a resentful servant? Where's the line between an act of love and being a doormat?
It circles back to requests versus demands. Love must be freely given. If your spouse uses guilt or coercion to extract labor, that's manipulation.
It's not love.
Chapman says only perform acts of service you can do with a joyful spirit. If you're violently scrubbing a counter, seething with resentment, stop.
That bitter labor isn't filling their tank, and it's destroying yours.
Negotiate boundaries instead.
Okay, let's move to the final language. For some, chores and gifts and words mean nothing without visceral, physical connection. Language number 5, physical touch.
And we have to ground this in biology. Physical touch is a primal imperative.
Like those Harlow monkey experiments. Infants who are held thrive. Those deprived of touch suffer developmental delays.
Skin hunger or touch starvation doesn't vanish in adulthood.
The book talks about Joe and Alicia. Joe liked affirming words, but what truly regulated his nervous system was physical closeness. Without it, he was anxious.
Chapman gives a great diagnostic tool for this. If your partner complains, I don't think you'd ever touch me if I didn't initiate it, you have a flashing red beacon.
They are literally telling you their primary channel is empty. I always compare it to a grounding wire in an electrical circuit.
That's a great analogy.
If a house has power but no ground wire, the energy scatters. It builds up static, it sparks. For someone who needs touch, a simple hug or holding hands is that grounding wire.
It dissipates the static.
Exactly. Without it, everything turns into generalized anxiety and frustration.
Physiologically, consensual touch stimulates the vagus nerve, lowers heart rate, releases oxytocin, and suppresses cortisol.
And it doesn't have to be sexual. Resting a hand on their arm, knees touching under the table, it's just reassurance of presence.
So those are the 5 languages. But here is where the book wades into really treacherous waters.
Section 7. The hard work of loving the unlovely. What if the marriage is actively toxic?
Right. Chapman gives 2 case studies. First is Susan and John, married 35 years, house paid off, kids grown, they never argue.
But they were living as completely disconnected roommates, a hollow shell.
John was confused. He did everything right, spoke acts of service constantly.
But Susan just wept in the office and said, I just want him to sit and look at me. Her language was quality time, and she'd been starving for 35 years.
But once Chapman translated for them, they started speaking each other's languages and actually went on a second honeymoon.
Incredible. But then there's the second story, Anne and Glenn. This is an actively, aggressively hostile marriage.
Anne asks Chapman, "Is it possible to love someone whom you actually hate?"
Glenn was verbally abusive, told her he hated her. It was a toxic environment. Chapman brings up the gospel of Luke loving your enemies.
He proposes a radical 6-month clinical experiment to Anne based on neuroplasticity.
He hypothesizes that if Anne can speak Glenn's love language for 6 months, regardless of his hostility, his tank might fill and he might reciprocate.
But Chapman warns her. She assumes 100% of the risk. Glenn has free will. He might reject her.
The methodology is brutal. Step 1. Anne must completely cease all verbal complaints.
Write them in a notebook, but don't say them to Glenn. Cut off the oxygen to the retaliation cycle.
Step 2. Ask Glenn how she can be a better wife and accept his feedback without a single word of defense.
Chapman guesses Glenn's languages are physical touch and words of affirmation, so Anne focuses entirely on those for 6 months.
And she can't make a request for her own language quality time until he gives unprompted positive feedback.
It's so intense.
I really struggle with this part. Doesn't it feel inauthentic or borderline enabling abusive behavior?
It's a vital pushback. Physical abuse requires immediate intervention and safety, not an experiment.
Right.
But in this framework, Chapman distinguishes between manipulation and mature love. Manipulation is deceitful. Mature, volitional love is the conscious choice to prioritize someone else's well-being over your transient emotions.
It's the ultimate assertion of human agency.
Exactly. You act lovingly because of your values, not because you feel like it. But it requires immense willpower to try and break a cycle of hatred unilaterally.
It is incredibly heavy. As we broaden the application, how does someone figure out their own language?
3 diagnostic methods. First, how do you naturally express love to others? We assume people process love like we do.
If you always buy surprise gifts for friends, your language is probably receiving gifts.
Second, what do you complain about the most? A complaint is a negative expression of an unmet desire.
You never help around the house equals acts of service.
Third, what do you request most often? If you always ask for a hug, it's physical touch.
And this isn't just for marriages. This applies to kids. If you know your teenager's language, you keep their tank full and stop them from seeking dangerous validation like Ashley did.
It helps singles dating. It helps military couples on deployment.
Well, the deployment example. If a military spouse needs quality time, they can agree to read the same book across the globe and email about it. Shared cognitive experience.
And Chapman wondered if this was just Western cultural conditioning, but the book has been translated into 50 languages.
The concepts resonate identically in Arabic, Spanish, German. It's universal human anthropology.
They perfectly map onto our sensory experience. Words for auditory, time for attention, gifts for material symbols, service for kinesthetic reality, touch for nervous system regulation.
Which is why we chose this deep dive today. This material shifts the paradigm from falling out of love to failing to communicate. It gives you the dictionary to fix the disconnect.
And here's a provocative thought to mull over. If these languages are truly universal, how are they secretly dictating the success or failure of our non-romantic institutions?
Hello?
Think about a corporate workplace. Does a key employee need an act of service from a manager or a word of affirmation in a meeting?
Or international diplomacy. What if 2 world leaders at a summit are just misinterpreting each other because one needs quality time and the other needs a tangible gift to establish trust?
It's wild to think about, but if human nature is universal, the application is limitless.
So no more wandering the grocery store aisles yelling in the wrong language. The mystery is solved. You have the dictionary.
It just takes the discipline to learn the translation and the courage to speak it.
Make sure to subscribe to the Book Nook so you never miss our expansive deep dives into the books and ideas that fundamentally change how we operate in the world. And we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us which book you'd like us to explore next. We read every single one.